Hi, everybody. My name is Ben Hill. I'm the festival director of the Hollywood Fringe Festival, and I'm here today to tell you a little about why we chose the model we did, which is commonly referred to as the Edinburgh model, or the independent empowered venue model, or sometimes known as the bring your own venue model. So when we formed in 2010, that was the year of our first festival. We spent a couple years before that examining every conceivable style of festival in that range from the curated style to the lottery style to the completely open access Edinburgh style and pretty much everything in between. And the best advice that I received from a fellow Fringe founder was that you need to match your festival to the city in which you lived. And that aligned very much with the mission of the Hollywood Fringe in and of itself, which is to be a power of good for its community. So in that, we went into our theater row, which is on Santa Monica Boulevard here in Hollywood, and we saw theater after theater after theater and usable theatrical space after usable theatrical space. And each one of those was its own business. And obviously, times being hard, these businesses had come on hard times, especially in the 2010 when we started. So we decided, wouldn't it be great to create a model by which these extant venue operators, in addition to any other independent venue operators that wanted to move into the theater row area, could basically create their own business, run their own business, benefit from the influx of patrons and participants that come in June whenever we have the Hollywood Fringe Festival. And that's, by and large, been very successful in that new theaters have opened up, new theaters have moved into the neighborhood, and the community has grown and prospered. And the Hollywood Fringe has played a part in that. So, in that, this operating style that we chose was good for the community. And then, of course, we looked inward in that we, the Fringe organization, needed to create a financially sustainable platform such that we can continue to serve this community year over year over year and keep coming back and presenting, the amazing work that our participant community presents, that our patron community enjoys. So we needed to think about this question of financial sustainability. A big risk that lots of fringes take on is that they fully rent out all their performing spaces, and such that when their festival begins, they're running at a loss. Now, we didn't want that at all. When our festival begins, we wanted to run at a break even or even a surplus perspective so that we can continue to invest into the festival and not have to worry about that great risk. So, because we don't need to rent all these venues on an annual basis, our operating budget is lower, and therefore we don't potentially have these huge financial catastrophes that can happen on, say, a down year with a lot of unused space and whatnot. So we've decided to spread the risk and the potential reward over a much broader community, thereby empowering all these individual venues. And when a new venue is added, it fundamentally costs us nothing. But all of the participant registration money that comes in from that new venue can go directly into our accounts, and we can reinvest that in the festival with new programs and new marketing and whatnot that thereby benefits everybody. So in that, this particular style we chose was good for the Fringe organization. And then obviously one of the great stakeholders in all of this is our participant community, which are very near and dear to our hearts. And we wanted to give them the broadest range of experiences possible. With this model, it allows for flexibility in the number of performances a participant wishes to choose. Some participants choose to have a performance every day of the festival. Some only choose to have one or two or five or seven. Seven is about the average. But fundamentally, it's up to them. We also encourage them in our training programs to be very mindful of budget. And one of the great questions that needs to be answered vis-a-vis budget is the question of how much you're going to price for your performances. So unlike a lot of other festivals, the Hollywood Fringe, the participant can set their own prices, and each performance can actually be different. So for example, if you're hosting a previews performance the week before we open, you might set that at pay what you can to get butts and seats. And then as the festival launches, you might have your tickets priced at $12 or $15 or $10 or pay what you can or whatever you want. And as the festival progresses, if you find through experience that people aren't seeing your show because you've overpriced your performance tickets, then you have the opportunity to lower those or add new discount codes or what have you. But fundamentally, you are in control of the pricing of your performance and therefore your budget. And speaking of budgets, because we have multiple venues, each venue obviously has its own contract. It manages it differently. Each venue costs differently depending on its location and its amenities and its capacity. So you have the opportunity as a participant to go in and determine which venue best fits your budget. Therefore, you are in control. Because ultimately, in Los Angeles, as I think most people know, we have lots and lots of actors. What we don't have a surplus of is our theatrical producers. And as a part of this program, as a part of the training we do, we basically put you in an environment where it's like the situation whereby you're producing a large show, but in a much more contained environment so you can learn. And as a big part of learning how to produce is managing that bottom line, is managing your income, managing your expenses, managing your balance sheets, how much you're going to spend on marketing versus production, versus rent, on and on and on. So by giving participants this flexibility, yes, they can create the show they want in the style they want, but they're also getting real world experience so that when they leave the fringe, they can go on and continue to grow and prosper as producers, thereby benefiting, the broader theatrical community at large. So fundamentally, then, this model for us was very good for our participants. On the downside, though, it does add a certain level of complexity because now you're talking about multiple different streams where income needs to flow. One being to the Fringe Festival, that's us, via registration, and then obviously money going into the venue in the form of rental fees. And it isn't as easy to explain to participants as saying it's going to be $400 and that's all you'll ever need to worry about. So we've created a technology process via our website to encapsulate all of this. So it's very clear that step one, do this, and you fill out your information. Step two, apply to the various venues and the spaces within the venues to get information on each of them, and that helps match your requirements from a location and budget and capacity perspective to the venues that are available. And it facilitates that communication about how the whole process works. And obviously, it puts a bigger onus on us to communicate with our participant community as to how all of this works. So that's why we made the choices we did. That's why we are an Edinburgh-style festival. Thanks for listening.